And now, What's My Line? Brought to you by Stop at Spray Deodorant. Poof, there goes perspiration. Poof Deodorant Body Powder, the body powder you spray. Finesse Shampoo, the new flowing cream shampoo. All in the first truly functional cosmetic containers, far easier to use. All created by Dr. Jules Montagnier, the famous cosmetic chemist. Time now to enjoy What's My Line?
Now let's meet our What's My Line panel of well-known personalities whose lines you already know. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in the New York Journal-American and papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, our favorite publisher, the gentleman whose humorous columns appear all over America, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Thank you, Dorothy. And on my left is a girl who, next to my wife, Phyllis, I'd most like to be cast away with on a tiny, tiny desert island, Miss Arlene Francis.
Just big enough for you and me and the monkeys, huh?
Never mind the monkeys.
And on my left, the very charming and able moderator of The Name's the Same, another panel show in television, the beautifully sunburned Robert Q.T. Lewis.
And on my left, the distinguished news analyst and our moderator and a guy I'd like to take sail fishing with me, Mr. John Daly.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to What's My Line, presented by Stop It. Once again tonight, some folks have been good enough to come and visit us and bring with them their occupations. Which occupations, we hope, will give my friends on the panel some trouble and give our guests some prizes. We'll also have a famous guest challenger before the panel a bit later in the program, but right now, to start things rolling, it's time for the experts to meet our first challenger whose job they have to spot. Will you sign in, please, ma'am? Nellie Kakoshka, is that right? Would you tell us, first of all, where you're from?
Dudley, Massachusetts.
Dudley, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Well, it's a good weekend that we've got here. We've got some friends, so you've got moral support. You've got everything you possibly need, and except the panel wants to know you a bit better, so would you walk down in front of the panel for me, please?
Quilted, Mr. Casket?
Yes,
Quilted.
it's quilted taffeta. Isn't it pretty?
All right, Miss Kokoschka, will you come over here and sit down next to me now? And on the basis of that very fine, firm handwriting that you have, your residence in Massachusetts, the quick look the panel has had at you, and the fact that it's a rule of the game, at this point, we always give them one free wild guess as to what your line may be, and we begin the free guesses with Miss Kilgallen.
I think she looms silk.
Looms silk, Mr. Cerf.
I think, judging by that handwriting, that she's a very important person in the Dudley school system somewhere.
Miss Francis.
I think that she bakes the Boston beans, and very well, too.
Mr. Lewis.
I think she works at the gift return counter at her department store.
No, I'm afraid nobody has it right. We'll let our viewers at home have a further look at Miss Kokoschka, and at the same time, we'll tell them what her line is. But, panel, you've got to dig. Miss Kokoschka, it's very simple from here on. Every time you give them a no answer, it costs them $5. We keep the record of this cost department right up here. 10 of these no's, and you have won the game. The usual last bit of help, Miss Kokoschka, is salaried. With that, let's begin the general questioning with Miss Kilgallen.
Do you work for a profit-making organization, Miss Kokoschka?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, do you work for some governmental agency of some kind?
Yes.
Would it be a local government agency?
Yes.
In other words, it has something to do with Dudley itself.
Yes.
Was I anywhere near correct when I said it might have something to do with the school system?
Well, that will be 2 down and 8 to go. Thank you very much, Mr. Cerf. Miss Francis.
Are you elected to office?
Yes.
Would your office be considered a rather high one in Dudley?
Yes.
Would people consider you probably the leading political light in that town?
No, I wouldn't think so. 3 down, and I mean, everybody would know her, but wouldn't necessarily think
The
of her
old
as
gray
a leading
man.
political
The old gray man.
or the leading. All right, that's 3 down and 7 to go. Mr. Lewis.
I think she would be the leading light anywhere. She's you're elected to office. Is this office you hold one of the administrative offices in the municipal government of Dudley?
It has certain administrative requirements. Yes.
I'm sure it's Dudley.
Thank you. They don't talk that way down at Miami Beach. Tell me, do you have anything to do with the police department in Dudley?
Police department? For heaven's sake. Police department, Bob?
Yeah.
That'll be 4 down, 6 to go. Hang on. All right, Miss Kilgallen.
Do you ever work in an office?
Yes.
Is that your base of operations?
Yes.
Does your work also take you outside of the office and about the city?
Occasionally.
Do you have anything at all to do with the law? If
Some.
not the police?
She has a certain relationship that she sets up occasionally with the law, I'd say, wouldn't you?
I wish I were better at elective offices. Do you go from Dudley to some other place ever to do your work?
No.
No. 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Miss Kokoschka, do you have anything to do with statistics of any kind?
Well, that's an interesting question. It would be difficult in an administrative office not to come across statistics at one time or another.
Does the question of money ever come up with the work that you do?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't mean that you get a salary. I take it you get mink coats, too.
He said this was local government.
Would you have anything to do at all with the tax structure?
Yes.
Do you collect taxes?
That's it. Mr. Costa is tax collector of Dudley, Massachusetts. Yes, Miss Kilgallen.
I never would have gotten that, John. I didn't know people elected tax collectors. I thought they just grew.
Yeah.
No, they don't just grow. We elect them. We might as well face up to it. And some of our departments of government, we elect them. And we deserve very often what happens then, don't we?
Right.
Yes, I thought you were going to say yes. Well, I must say that you've done pretty well with the prizes, but more than that, we hope that your trip down to Dudley to be a guest with us has been worthwhile and you enjoyed it. It was nice to have you on What's My Line. Good night, and thanks very much. All right, panel, let's see what you can do with another challenger. Will you sign in, please, sir? Bob Troast, is that right? No, you just stay here just a second. Stay with me long enough to tell us where you're from, Mr. Troast.
Elkhart, Indiana.
Elkhart, Indiana. That's right. Well, we have some friends for you in the house, too. Lots of moral support, so all you have to do now is walk down and face that panel. Watch out for them.
Hi.
Shake hands with John. Very husky.
All right, Mr. Trost, will you come over here now and sit down next to me, please? And at this point, the panel having had a chance to look you over, we give them one free guess as to what your line may be. And we'll begin the free guesses, as always, with Miss Kilgallen.
I think he's in the grain business.
In the who?
Grain business.
Grain business, Mr. Cerf.
I think he's a football player.
A football player, Miss Francis.
I think he's in charge of a boys' school.
Mr.
I
Lewis.
wish it were girls.
I think he's Arthur Godfrey's ice skating instructor.
No, I'm afraid not. We'll let our viewers at home have another look at Mr. Troas, and at the same time, we'll tell them what his line is. Mr. Troas, the panel has to dig. I think you know the rules. You've heard me explain them. Every no answer, $5. We keep the record right up here. Nothing can go wrong. And 10 of these no's, you've won the whole shebang. All right, the usual last bit of information. Mr. Troast is salaried. With that, let's begin the general questioning with Robert Q. Lewis.
Oh, fine. Mr. Troast, is there a product involved in what you do?
Yes.
Is this a product that might be found in the home?
Yes.
Is it a product that I might use? Could I use something like...
Might be necessary, but we'd have to have a small conference here. Can we have a small conference?
Yes.
We feel it's only fair to give you the benefit of all doubt, setting aside what possible need you may have personally for this product.
Arlene, what is he saying?
we will give you a qualified yes, Robert. You go on.
Qualified, yes?
That means you can go on anyway.
All right. In other words, then, perhaps this is something that might more generally be used by ladies.
Yes.
I see. Is it something that perhaps a lady might wear?
Another comment.
I would say that if you were to come upon a lady in close proximity to the product, you might say, oh, look what she has on. You know, that's what
Is it that kind of a... Well, is this a product that a lady might might wear close to her skin?
what did you say?
Right against the skin?
Right against it, yes.
Well, in that case, is it something that she would more generally wear in the privacy of her own home as opposed to something that she might wear in public?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't like the way they're... Well, tell me, is this something that... could this be described as well, clinging? Well, now, would the lady tend to put this on at night?
Yes.
You don't seem very sure about it.
Well, actually, you know, it's an area in which I'm not necessarily expert.
What I'm not so sure I am at this point. Well, now, suppose, would this be considered appropriate? Would a pink one of these be considered appropriate?
I guess we better get you off the hook right now. 1 down and 9 to go. Miss Kilgallen.
You mean there couldn't be a pink one?
I'm afraid not.
Do ladies ever do anything with these things except wear them? I mean, besides wear them? In addition to...
Well, we meant to convey, actually, that we use the term wear in its broadest application. I mean, you can sort of take it from there.
Well, they use it in proximity to their persons.
Oh, yes, it's used in proximity. Mm-hmm. Also, sometimes in the house.
And more usually by ladies than by gentlemen.
Yes.
Could very young ladies ever use this?
They could.
Is it a manufactured product?
Yes.
Is it solid rather than liquid?
Yes.
Did I say something?
Yes, I think we would classify it as a solid. Mm-hmm.
Does it usually come in one piece?
You mean,
rather than having movable parts, I mean.
Well, it comes in one piece, yes. I mean, to the degree that it is held or in any sort of container, it's all one.
Is this a useful object?
Yes.
Is it also anything else besides useful, like, well, is it healthful or decorative?
Yeah, it's considered to be helpful, helpful in some degree.
Is this anything that a lady would put on her chest?
On her chest? Please, I have to consult the expert. I don't think so either. Hate to go, Mr. Cerf.
Were you hinting that possibly it clings very tightly, and you might even say it adheres?
Yes.
Is this anything remotely connected with the plaster family? Or bandage or plaster family?
Thank you. That bandage clears things up for us beautifully. That makes it 3 down and 7 to go. All right, Miss Francis. Going to give you 1 minute.
Well, when you said plaster, does it have anything to do with the Plaster family?
Well, fairly
It
allied.
sticks, does it?
Well, Mr. Trust said it's fairly allied, so we'll give you a qualified yes
fairly
on that.
what?
Allied to the Plaster
Oh, it's
family.
fairly allied. I thought you said alive. Alive, is it?
No.
No.
Yes, it is not alive, no.
Would you buy it in a drugstore?
Yes.
Would it be bought at the drug counter?
Depending on the store.
I see.
I know a drugstore's only got one counter. This is beginning to get me. You go ahead, Miss Arlene.
Does it change its form in any way?
Yes.
I mean, can you pull it or change it that way?
You can
Like
pull
a
it.
You might try
Does it
it.
have any elasticity, as rubber does?
No.
No. And actually, I'm afraid we're going to have to rule that Mr. Troas wins by default because we're running out of time.
But he makes putty noses.
Well, you're getting close. He makes mud packs.
Oh, hell.
Whoa! Mr. Trout, just so that this is clear in the record, makes it for Edna Wallace Hopper, is it?
That's correct.
Nice mud pack. Just throw mud in your face. Well, Mr. Troas, you win the full prize by default. We certainly had a wonderful time. Thanks for being our guest in What's My Life. Nice to see you. Bye-bye. All right, and now, in just one moment, ladies and gentlemen, we'll introduce our... We come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, who would be known immediately to the members of the panel, so we have provided them with blindfolds. Are those blindfolds already in place, panel?
Yes,
Yes, they are.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel, you know in the case of our mystery challenger, we always get right down to the general questioning, which we will begin with Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Well, our usual first question from mystery guest is, have you anything whatever to do with the entertainment business?
Yes.
Are you a lady?
Well, that's a lady, you said?
Yes.
Well, that has been questioned upon occasion, but I am of the feminine gender.
Well, that was what I was driving at. And I take it you're a lady, too. Have you ever appeared in motion pictures?
Yes.
Have you appeared in other media of entertainment also?
Several other media.
Have you appeared upon the New York stage?
Yes.
Have you appeared on the New York stage within the past 2 years?
Yes.
Are you, by any chance, in a play that's on Broadway right this very minute?
Yes.
Oh, you are? Is it a hit?
It's difficult to say.
It's a little early to be quite fair to say. That's why it's difficult for our guest to answer that.
Is this a show that is opened within the past 6 weeks?
Yes.
Is it a non-musical show? That is not a song, not a girl and boy dance show.
Yes.
Yeah. It is not a no, it is... No, wait a minute. Let me get wound up here. Is it a non-musical show? No, it is not a non-musical show. 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Arlene Francis.
Then you perform mostly with music, do you? Or anyway in this particular play that you're in now?
Yes.
Would you be considered a dancer?
I think so.
Do you sing?
Sometimes.
But you're primarily known for your dancing?
I'm not so sure.
Let us say it has played a very prominent part in our guest's career.
Have you traveled around the country a good deal?
Yes.
Have you been known for the extravagance and amusing nature of your costumes?
No.
Well, this is an area in which I'll have to yield to feminine description. That makes it 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Lewis.
You have the most charming voice I have ever heard. I wish I could attach it to somebody.
Talk to
You are in a Broadway musical at the current time. This is ridiculous, but you're such a great actress, I'm going to have to take a wild guess. You sing and dance in your current role?
me. Yes.
Are you Betty Davis?
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
This is a musical. It's now playing on Broadway.
Yes.
8 performances a week.
No, more than that.
That makes it 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
A musical on Broadway with more than 8 performances a week.
Oh, I know.
Well, everybody knows but me.
All right, Mr. Cerf, carry on.
Well, they all know. I would have to guess that it is one of the Broadway presentation houses where there's a picture as well as yourself on exhibition.
Yes.
Would it be the Radio City Music Hall?
5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Give it a rip.
That's Mr. Williams. Well, I still, I'm sure Bob knows it.
I know.
All I can think of is Gypsy Rose Lee, but she...
No.
6 down and 4 to go.
Sally Rand.
Miss Rand, thank you so much for coming, giving the panel such a rough time. Would you go over and say good night to them? And it's been good to have you as our guest. Thank you and good night. Good night and thank you. And now, panel, let's see what you can do with another challenger. We have just a little time left. Would you please sign in, ma'am? Madeline Woods. How are you? Now, Miss Woods, will you tell us, first of all, where you're from?
Belvedere, Illinois.
Belvedere, Illinois. Well, it's good to have you come all that way, and I know you're tired, so we'll not take that trip. You come over here with me. Won't you sit right down here? We'll dispense with the usual trip in front of the panel, but they've had a chance to look at you, so we'll give them now the usual free guess, which we will begin with Miss Kilgallen.
I think she's a pearl stringer.
A pearl stringer, Mr. Cerf.
I think she's helping to move Governor Stevenson out of the State House.
Miss Francis.
I think she raises animals.
Mr. Lewis.
I think she holds the cushion for Arthur Godfrey when he's on ice skates.
No, I'm afraid not. We'll let our viewers have a further look at Mrs. Woods, and at the same time, we'll tell them what her line is, but the panel will have to dig. All right, Mrs. Woods, I think you know the rules. Every no answer you can give them $5. We keep the record. We got it all back to 0, ready for you to go. The usual last bit of information, Mrs. Woods is self-employed. With that, let's begin with Arlene Francis.
Mrs. Woods, do you have to have training in your job?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Lewis.
Do you work from your own home?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Do you work indoors?
Yes.
You work in an enclosure?
Yes.
Is it a place where things are sold?
Yes.
Is it
Things,
sold?
would you be a little more specific?
Well, I'd rather not be if it's going to get me in trouble. Is anything sold in this place?
Yes.
Is the thing that is sold in this place useful?
Yes, to a degree.
Yes, to a degree. Very good.
Is it anything that I might want to use?
You might possibly.
Is it also decorative or enjoyable in any way, besides being useful?
Yes.
Enjoyable.
Is this anything I could hold in my hand?
Yes.
Now, wait a minute. No, I think we have to go back to basic things here. I don't think you could hold it, being whatever it is we're talking about, in your hand. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf, and 30 seconds to go.
Mrs. Woods, was there any catch in this word degree? Were you punning in any way when you said degree?
Ask us a question, and we'd tell whether we were punning.
Well, is this anything that has anything to do with heat?
With heat. That would make it 4 down and 6 to go.
Does that have anything to do with cold?
Having to do with cold. That would make it 5 down and 5 to go, and I'm afraid that Mrs. Woods is going to have to win by default, because our time is running out. But you'll all be glad to know that she runs a pool room. You weren't anywhere near it. So you win the full prize. Thanks very much for being our guest. And now, in a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you a preview look at one of our guests whose line our panel is going to be asked to try and identify on next week's program. And next week at this same time, our panel of experts will be asked, "What's my line?" by this young lady. Would you know what her occupation is? Could you spot her line? Well, for the answers to these and a good many other amusing and serious questions, be sure to join us again next Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when once again Stopette invites you to play What's My Line? For other localities, check your local listings for the date and time of our weekly series, and don't forget, What's My Line is on CBS Radio on Wednesday nights. Until then, this is John Daly saying good night, Dorothy.
Good night, Bennett.
Happy New Year, dear girl. Good night, Arlene.
Good night, Robert Q.
Good night, John.
And good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
This has been a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production. In association with the CBS Television Network.